delivery of powerful performances continued in 2024. His recent roles in Shrikant, Mr. and Mrs. Mahi, Stree 2 and Wiki Vidya Ka Wo Wala video showcases his deep commitment to his craft, often transforming himself physically and emotionally to suit the character's demands, making Rajkumar Rao the NDTV Actor of 2024.
जोरदार तालियां राजकुमार के लिए। भाई हम सब के दिलों के राजकुमार भी तो हैं ये।
Burning out of control in the greater Los Angeles area have killed at least 6 people and forced nearly 180,000 more from their homes. At least 5 fires are burning at the moment. NDTV's Vishnu Shom reports from Ground Zero. Google and Microsoft have donated $1 million each to Donald Trump's inauguration fund, following in the footsteps of other major companies including Amazon, Meta, OpenAI and Uber. Indian origin MP Chandra Arya says he is now running to be the next Prime Minister of Canada. Data shows Europe bought a record amount of liquefied natural gas from Russia last year, despite EU efforts to ditch the fossil fuels funding Putin's war chest. Global banks will cut as many as 2 lakh jobs in the next 3 to 5 years as artificial intelligence encroaches on tasks currently carried out by human workers, according to a report. A big focus, wildfires are raging across Los Angeles, turning the skies red, destroying homes and businesses, and blanketing the entire region with smoke and debris. In fact, the largest fire has now grown to nearly 3,000 acres and forced tens of thousands of people to evacuate. LA is continuing to be menaced by wildfires, with the latest blaze actually being reported from the Hollywood Hills, where the iconic Hollywood sign sits. Sustained powerful winds reaching nearly 100 miles per hour are driving fast-moving wildfires near LA, spewing smoke, destroying homes, and closing roads. Take a look at NDTV's ground report.
I'm in Pasadena, a neighborhood in Los Angeles that has been devastated by fire. This particular residential area is home to some beautiful houses, family homes, where one neighbor's house is intact, but the next neighbor's house is burnt down to ashes. And all that remains is the brick kiln fireplace and some remnants, some hints of what was once a thriving family home. It's very disturbing to see how a house can be burnt down so quickly into absolutely nothing but ash. And many of the people who once lived here have not yet been back to see the devastation of their homes. They have been evacuated to safer places. They have left with their loved ones and their pets. At this point, they're just grateful that they are okay and that they are safe. But the long-term residents of Los Angeles have said that they have never seen a fire anything like this. And this is one of the worst fires that they have ever witnessed. And anyone walking through these deserted neighborhoods with burnt down homes, rubble and ash can see the destruction that these fires have left in their wake.
This is one of the worst hit areas in the greater Los Angeles area. You can see fire trucks behind me, and they're actually trying to put out fires in this particular home. This entire area has been entirely burnt out. You can see the fire service people walking in over here, the firefighters working over here. We can't get in beyond this particular point, but they're working over here. You can see a great deal of damage in this particular area. The smoke is still coming out of some of the areas over here, and what we're going to actually do is walk through some of these areas to give you a sense of what it looks like. And everywhere that you see, there's devastation. So just follow me as we, Stephen, go to this area and just point out that there's still smoke coming up from these homes which were completely destroyed, as you can see over here. And there are any number of homes which have been entirely destroyed. So there is smoke, which you can see coming out of these structures. A lot of stuff burning, we can smell it. There is ash in the air as well. If we move across this road, and this seems to be an affluent part of this area. We can see cars which have been entirely burnt out, and home after home has been completely destroyed. These are the savings of people completely destroyed, decimated, and this house behind me destroyed as well. Now, I'm just going to update our viewers on what the overall situation is. The situation remains tense because even though right now it seems that the wind speeds have come down, they aren't entirely certain that the winds have gone away. And until the winds go away, there is a huge problem over here because it's the winds which are spreading the fires. There are at least 4 to 5 major fires in the greater Los Angeles area, and all of these are uncontained. And it's these embers which reach out far, which trigger fires in areas which are incredibly dry. There is usually rainfall which happens. There is rainfall which happens this time of the year. That's not happened. There are wildfires which take place across this region, but that happens in the month of October by and large. What's taking place now is entirely unexpected. Billions have been lost across the region. The sense is that when this all gets figured out, you're looking at the most expensive natural disaster in the history of the United States of America.
We'll keep getting you the latest from LA. For now, let's turn our attention to Canada. Chandra Arya, the Indian Member of Parliament in Canada, has announced his intention to run for the post of Prime Minister of Canada and leader of the Liberal Party following Justin Trudeau's resignation as Prime Minister earlier this week. Now, Mr. Arya actually hails from a village in Karnataka. He emigrated to Canada about 2 decades ago, along with his wife and son. And he was first elected to the Canadian House of Commons in 2015 as part of the Liberal wave led by Justin Trudeau. The Liberal Party had then won the majority of seats. But for further clarity, let's go across to my colleague Maha Siddiqui, who joins us live from Vancouver at the moment. Maha, Chandra Arya says now he's running to be the next Prime Minister of Canada. Take us through how he's perceived on home ground, though, for you.
Well, he's an Indian origin member of parliament from Ottawa, and at the moment, a person who has been able to get a lot of support from the Indian community in and around the East Coast, especially of Canada. Now, as far as Chandra Arya's ambitions go, he has thrown his hat in the ring, and he says that he'll be pitching himself for the Prime Minister's position as well as the Liberal Party leader. He's also put out an agenda wherein some of the factors that he's mentioned are more in sync with what the Conservatives feel rather than the Liberals. For instance, he's saying that he will axe the carbon tax. Now, carbon tax is a policy that Canada adopted to curb its carbon emissions, reduce its carbon footprints, and it is in sync with their larger aspirations with regards to being more sustainable. As far as the Paris Accord is concerned, that is their commitment to the Paris Accord as well, that countries like Canada, the developed world, will bring down their emissions and also route some of the money to developing countries. So this is a stand that he's taken, which is something that is unpopular. Carbon tax is unpopular among a certain section of people, but a necessary policy measure for climate action. On the other hand, there are other issues. For instance, he has spoken about how he wants to crack down on extremism and terror activities. This is clearly in sync with what he has been saying for some time now. Remember, he is one person who has spoken about the pro-Khalistan stand that has been taken by a certain section. And he's also got into or has, in fact, locked horns with politicians like Jagmeet Singh of the NDP, and even within his own party, the Liberals, within the own caucus, he has locked horns with people there as well. So whether he will be able to garner support within the caucus, within the larger Liberals, that remains to be seen clearly, because at the end of the day, it's the Liberal Party that will be choosing their leader, and then he can only then he can become the Prime Minister, for which he has pitched himself now. There are certainly other contenders as well. Some of the front runners are the former Finance Minister, Chrystia Freeland, economist Mark Carney, as well as the former Premier of British Columbia, Christy Clark.
Right. As always, Maha, thank you so much for breaking down the details for us. In other news, the US Supreme Court has narrowly denied Donald Trump's request to delay his criminal hush money sentencing, clearing the way for the president-elect to be sentenced Friday morning in New York. 4 of the 9 justices indicated they would have granted Trump's request to halt this sentencing, but Chief Justice John Roberts and Trump appointee Justice Amy Coney Barrett joined the court's 3 liberal justices to deny Trump the relief he sought. On the other hand, a federal appeals court has cleared the way for the public release of Special Counsel Jack Smith's report on the 2020 election interference case against Donald Trump over the objections of the president-elect. My colleague Natasha Israni has been tracking all the latest developments for us. She joins us live at the moment. Natasha, so what's Trump's plan? Does he intend to attend the sentencing virtually from his Mar-a-Lago estate?
Yes, that is what is expected. He's not going to be there in court in person. He will be attending virtually, and he will be given the chance to also make remarks. It's unclear whether he will say anything, but the judge will hand out the sentencing, and the judge will also explain the reasons behind whatever they choose as a sentencing. Now, let's remember here that the judge in this case, who's going to make the sentencing tomorrow morning here in New York, has already said that there will be an unconditional discharge. What that means is that while there is going to be a clear conviction of former President-elect Donald Trump, there won't be any probations, any fines, any jail time for the president. And that's one of the reasons that the Supreme Court also cited in saying that they were not accepting this request from Trump's lawyers that the sentencing being delayed, because they argued that this would impact his duties as president-elect. And the Supreme Court said, well, no, there is going to be no substantial impact on whatever duties Donald Trump has as president-elect. And also, they said that given that the judge in this case has already said that there'll be an unconditional discharge, this will not impact Donald Trump. But this is more symbolic than anything else. He's going to be the first former US president or president-elect to go into inauguration with a criminal conviction on record. And that is what his lawyers were hoping to avoid, and they have not succeeded in doing so. In fact, ethical concerns had been raised earlier this week when one of the Supreme Court justices, that Samuel Alito, had actually taken a phone call from Donald Trump, though later Alito said that that call had nothing to do with this decision. But a lot of eyebrows had been raised at that stage. So this decision by the Supreme Court is being seen as a notable act of independence for the Supreme Court here in the United States, even though it is more on the conservative side, which is more on Donald Trump's side, as was seen in some of the earlier rulings that we saw last year, which were in his favor.
Natasha, as always, thanks so much for joining us with the latest. Meanwhile, newly in the minority, Democrats voted with Republicans to advance legislation that would require federal authorities to detain unauthorized immigrants who have been accused of certain crimes, signaling that they will try and find spots to work with President-elect Donald Trump while simultaneously trying to block much of his agenda. Senate Democrat leader Chuck Schumer and most other Democrats voted to proceed with the legislation, advancing the bill 84-9. Now, Trump and Republicans have pushed the bill and made it a priority since a Georgia nursing student was actually killed last year by a Venezuelan man who entered the US illegally and was allowed to stay to pursue his immigration case. Meanwhile, the United States actually has no current plans to increase its military presence in Greenland. This is what the US Embassy in Copenhagen has said, following renewed interest by Donald Trump in acquiring the Arctic island. Trump, who actually takes office in another 10 days on the 20th of January, said this week that the US control of the strategically important Arctic island was an absolute necessity and did not rule out using military or economic actions such as tariffs against Denmark to make it happen. And Google and Microsoft have donated $1 million each to Donald Trump's inauguration fund, following in the footsteps of other major companies, including Amazon, Meta, OpenAI, as well as Uber. A slew of other major companies made hefty donations to Trump's inauguration fund. This is just within the last month. The fund will actually cover functions and activities connected with the ceremony. But as I mentioned, Amazon, Meta, and OpenAI CEO Sam Altman have all made donations of $1 million each, as well as Toyota and Uber. The contributions, which have helped Trump's inaugural committee raise a record $170 million in donations, appear to be an attempt by tech giants to curry good favor with Trump ahead of his second term. But by comparison, you must note, Joe Biden's inauguration raised $63 million in 2021, while Obama's inaugurations raised $53 million in 2009 and $42 million in 2013. Well, let's switch tracks now to a crucial report that has stated Europe bought a record amount of liquefied natural gas, LNG, from Russia in 2024, despite ongoing efforts to cut funding to Putin's war machine. Last year, European ports saw 17.8 million tons of Russian LNG, a jump of over 2 million tons from the previous year, according to analysts at Rystad Energy. Now, while Europe has reduced its pipeline imports of Russian gas since the Ukraine war began, LNG shipments have surged, with Russia becoming Europe's second largest LNG supplier after the US. So in total, Europe imported 49.5 billion cubic meters of Russian gas via pipelines and another 24.2 billion cubic meters in liquid form on ships. Some of that LNG was likely resold as well to other nations, and these numbers came just days after Ukraine halted the flow of Russian gas through its pipelines, effectively ending a Soviet-era energy route. I must inform you that critics argue that by continuing to import Russian gas, the EU is undermining its support for Ukraine and its climate goals. Well, news and updates continue in a moment, right after this very short break. Do stay tuned.
Actor of the Year. By the way, my dear friends, you know, probably I am one of the first ones in the history of NDTV to have this rare, proud honor of announcing and honoring as in the place of a real hero to a reel of my own movie, Shrikant. Without a further ado, with great admiration, love and due respect, the best actor of the year goes to Shri Rajkumar Rao. Please come on to the stage.
Ladies and gentlemen, Rajkumar Rao's versatility, dedication to meaningful cinema, and consistent delivery of powerful performances continued in 2024. His recent roles in Shrikant, Mr. and Mrs. Mahi, Stree 2, and Wiki Vidya Ka Wo Wala video showcases his deep commitment to his craft, often transforming himself physically and emotionally to suit the character's demands, making Rajkumar Rao the NDTV Actor of 2024.
जोरदार तालियां राजकुमार के लिए। भाई हम सबके दिलों के राजकुमार भी तो हैं ये। राजकुमार, आपसे पूछना चाहेंगे हम, 2024 मेरे ख्याल से आपके जीवन का सबसे सुनहरा साल आप इसको मानेंगे?
Well, definitely. First of all, thank you so much, NDTV. Thank you, sir. Thank you, jury. Thank you, Shrikant, the real Shrikant, for giving us your life story and for giving me this opportunity to play you on screen, because it was one of the most challenging parts. But I had so much fun because when there are challenges, then only it's fun. Otherwise, it gets very monotonous, very boring.
आपने तो अपॉर्चुनिटी छीन लिया, नहीं तो मैं खुद प्ले करता था यार।
नहीं, प्लीज कुछ काम हमें भी करने दो। आप सब कुछ करोगे तो फिर हम क्या करेंगे?
नहीं, सीक्वल 2 में हम दोनों लड़ेंगे।
डन।
किसको अपॉर्चुनिटी मिलेगा, किसका लुक बेटर होगा, देखेंगे ना।
डन। बट यार 2024 बहुत ही अच्छा रहा। I think God has been really kind. This is my second Indian of the Year. I received it in 2017 because that was also a fabulous year. But I want every year to be a fabulous year for our cinema, for our stories. I wish कि हम लोग अच्छी कहानियाँ कहें, अच्छा content बनाएं, so that we can films like Shrikant, where we can inspire people, because his life is so inspiring, and not many people knew about him, unfortunately. But through cinema, we can tell such beautiful stories which can touch your heart, which can change someone's life. So I just wish कि हर साल 2024 जैसा ही हो, और मैं यहाँ पर और आता रहूँ, और ऐसे कमाल श्रीकांत जैसे लोगों से अवार्ड लेता रहूँ. So again, thank you so much, NDTV. This means a lot to me.
Welcome back. Police and security officials in northwestern Pakistan have said that militants have abducted at least 16 government workers and set unclear demands for their release. Now, the group of civilian hostages are employees of a mining project related to the state-run Pakistan Atomic Energy Commission in the militancy-hit Lakhimarwad district in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province. The men were actually commuting to work on a minibus, is what we're told, when they were ambushed and taken hostage at gunpoint, the area police officer has said on record. But militants have abducted at least 16 government workers and set unclear demands for their release, as per what police and security officials in northwestern Pakistan have informed us. Let's turn our attention now to Lebanon, where the parliament voted to elect General Joseph Aoun, commander of the Lebanese Armed Forces, as the country's new president, ending a years-long leadership vacuum that hobbled the government, delayed key reforms, and also raised fears of a wider collapse as the nation faced numerous crises. Aoun secured 99 votes from the 128-seat parliament to win the presidency in a second round of voting, a move that came weeks after a tenuous ceasefire agreement halted 14 months of fighting between Israel and the Lebanese armed group Hezbollah as the country seeks aid for reconstruction. In other news, global banks will cut as many as 2 lakh jobs in the next 3 to 5 years as artificial intelligence encroaches on tasks that are currently being carried out by human workers. This is according to a Bloomberg intelligence report. Chief Information and Tech officers surveyed for BI indicated that on average, they expect a net 3% of their workforce to be cut. Back office, middle office, and operations are likely to be most at risk, according to a senior analyst who wrote the report. As far as customer services is concerned, they could see changes as bots manage client functions, while know your customer duties would also be vulnerable. In fact, the analyst added that any jobs involving routine, repetitive tasks are at risk. But he added that AI will not eliminate them fully, rather it will lead to workforce transformation. In other news, the 18th Pravasi Bharatiya Divas in Bhubaneswar kick-started with around 6,000 non-resident Indians from 75 countries who've gathered to celebrate and strengthen, their relationship with the global Indian community. Prime Minister Modi, who inaugurated the event, also launched an exhibit themed Vishwaroop Ram, an exhibition showcasing various facets of Lord Ram and the universal legacy of the Ramayana. Gauri Dwivedi was out there covering everything. Take a look.
There are 22 countries around the world where the Ramayana connect is deeply felt, from Indonesia to all the way till New Zealand, which is perhaps why this Ram exhibition, which is titled the Vishwarupam Ram, the legacy of Lord Ram, is so important and probably at the backbone of how India wants to connect, engage and build bridges with the diaspora. This was actually launched by the Prime Minister today when he spoke at length about just how important it is for the diaspora to continue to build bridges. He in fact also said that it's not just Vikas, in fact also we continue to want to work on our culture as well. Sanskriti is as important as Vikas. And when he did reach out to the diaspora, and when he reached out to over nearly 40 million people of the Indian diaspora, whether it's the NRIs or the PIOs, the message was loud and clear that they need to be partners with India's growth story. They need to be partners with India's ambition and vision to be a Viksit Bharat, or a developed country, by 2047. And some of the measures here have found resonance with the diaspora that has come. Over 6,000 people have actually attended and are here for the 18th Pravasi Bharati Divas. And the engagement is only growing. And the sense one gets speaking here to diaspora members that have come far from, whether it's the Africa, whether it's Latin America, and of course a large contingent from America as well, the sense one gets is quite clear that they want to be part and they want to be associated with India. Some of them have actually left India, their ancestors left 7 generations back, but the bonds remain. Civilization and culture is at the backbone of that bond, which is why exhibitions like these, there are 3 others that are so important, but economic ties, business ties are also now additional layers at which India wants to engage with its diaspora. In Bhubaneswar, for NDTV, this is Gauri Dwivedi.
Thank you for investing your time and watching this edition of The World 24/7. As always, we'll keep tracking the latest updates for you. Do stay tuned.
Now we move on to the next category, which is the Youth Icon of the Year. And for this, मैं एक बार फिर से request करूँगी आशा पारेख जी का स्टेज पर आने के लिए, और साथ ही इनवाइट करेंगे मयंक अग्रवाल जी को, CEO Gallant Group of Industries, to join us on stage for this next category of awards.
Ananya Pandey.
Congratulations, Ananya. And Ananya Pandey, actor, is getting this award for her advocacy work on combating cyberbullying, growing achievements in the film industry, and strong influence on social media. And that's what makes Ananya Pandey NDTV Youth Icon of the Year 2024. She represents a blend of modern values, relatability, and a commitment to meaningful causes, which are essential qualities for inspiring today's youth.
Congratulations, very many
Thank
congratulations.
you. Thank you.
And Ananya, there are just a few questions for
Yes.
you. You've, diverse characters, and you've made a shift from big screen to OTT. Big superstars have done their shift. What is your opinion on that, and what's your next move?
Firstly, I just want to thank NDTV for this award. It's truly very, very humbling, and to get it from Asha Parekh ji, I'm such a big fan of your work, so this is a pinch me moment for sure. I don't believe any screen is too big or small. It's a screen at the end of the day, and the world is developing so fast. There's so many changes that are being made, so I think we're all just keeping up with the times.
Ananya, the fact is that 2024, this year has been phenomenal for you. One success after another. Kahan Kho Gaye Hum, Call Me Bae, CTRL. How does it feel to have multiple successes in one single year?
It's really a dream come true. I really think this year for me, more than ever, I felt very connected to my fans with Kho Gaye Hum Kahan and Call Me Bae and Control. I've done movies in the past, but this is the first time that I felt true love from the audience. And, all these films and shows have been conversation starters. People have not just come up to me and said that they like my work, but how my work has kind of made them feel seen or represented on screen. And for an actor,